Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Yes, your eyes do not deceive you. It is indeed another time for AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. How are you all doing, everybody? And I will say right now that with this episode that we have right now, man, we got a lot of very fascinating stories to talk about with a wide range of emotions. We will be entering upon some serious topics, so brace yourselves for that. But also we will have some fun topics and some playful discussions. But this will definitely be a fascinating episode that I'm sure that even you watching or listening to this right now, you will have a lot of things that maybe you would want to say, or maybe put a little bit of your own input, and who knows, we'll wait and see. We'll wait until the time will come, but of course, since this is my podcast, I get to have the first say. Then it can be your turn to go and put in your thoughts or chip in your discussions about what I will be talking about here. So, with all that said and done, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, how are you guys doing? And also, are you all ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Are you prepared to enter into this episode? Let me hear it, folks. Are we all ready? Let's see. Yes, all right. People are prepared. People are set. That is great to see. And with that said, it is now time that we are going to go and get this one started. And with the first story that I have for you, it's actually going to be a little trailer. Now, this is only going to be about a minute long, but this is going to be regarding a project that I have been waiting for a very long time. I've heard about this thing for a few years now, and I know that there have been some people who have already seen it, since it actually did appear in a film festival or two. Like, it did make a little bit of its rounds years ago. I think like either 2 years ago or probably something like that. But now it is going to be time that it will appear to the public, but only exclusively to Disney Plus. But either way, I already have it and I'm ready to go and see it. So with that said, let us go and check out the trailer for the upcoming Disney Plus documentary, Howard. And let me go and set myself up first. Hold on a sec. There we go. So, let us be ready to hear this in 3, 2, 1, go.
Ready to stand. Do that part.
Ready to stand.
As a lyricist, the last great place to do musicals is in animation.
The combination of Howard Ashman's talent and the Walt Disney name was a home run waiting to happen.
The stuff that was coming out of Howard's pen lyrically was just unbelievable.
It's quiet. You know what I mean?
It's a quiet village.
Yeah.
Howard and Alan Menken had captured the imagination of a generation. We knew something really special was happening, but what we didn't know was that in 9 months, Howard would be gone.
And Howard said, we really have to have a serious talk. I'm sick.
In animation history and in musical history, Howard's mark is indelible.
Me. Yes.
Howard's gift was so strong and his light was so bright that it has not diminished over the years.
And that is the documentary called Howard, which will be coming on Disney Plus. And to give you guys a quick little summary of what this will be all about, Howard is, of course, a documentary about legendary lyricist Howard Ashman. And if you guys want a quick little biography, if you want to know like the short summary of who is Howard Ashman in the first place, This guy actually did a lot of stage musicals in the past, where back during the 70s and 80s, I believe, he actually worked on a few musicals and did get some significant recognition at the same time, even getting like a Tony or two and probably a few other awards at the same time. Probably his most well-known musical that he did for the stage would most likely be Little Shop of Horrors. But his true claim to fame wouldn't arrive until he would go and work at Disney, where he would become the lyricist for some of the most beloved and popular Disney movies out there, including The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, and finally, Aladdin. And apparently this documentary will be highlighting all that. And for me, as someone who is currently looking into the history of Disney and has already passed the part where I would go and discuss about the elements with Howard Ashman and his involvement with Disney when he came in with the Little Mermaid, then worked on Beauty and the Beast, and worked a little bit on Aladdin before he passed away. This is honestly something that I would totally be down for. I would totally be interested in checking out. But one of the reasons I would say that I am really excited to go and check out this documentary is the person who is making the documentary, which is Don Hahn. You may know Don Hahn as the renowned Disney producer who has worked on several different Disney movies, especially back in the 90s with films like The Little Mermaid, or I don't know if he was fully a producer for The Little Mermaid, but I know he was a producer for Beauty and the Beast, for The Lion King, for Hunchback of Notre Dame, and so on and so forth. And he would also be involved with being a producer on some of the more recent live action films, including Maleficent. So Don Hahn has made a massive legacy in the Disney company, but for the most part, outside of producing, he has also worked on preserving Disney history and really showing off more of the Disney legacy, whether it be as an author or even as a documentarian, where he has worked on several documentaries. I know he did a bonus feature or two on the Lion King Blu-ray, or more specifically, the Diamond edition of it. But mainly, he is actually the man responsible for creating what is possibly my favorite documentary, Waking Sleeping Beauty. And if you have not seen Waking Sleeping Beauty, if you're either an animation fan or a Disney fan or a movie fan, I highly recommend that you go and check it out, because it actually chronicles the history of Disney, or more specifically, the history of Disney animation between 1984 and 1994, where you would see how Disney started way at the bottom, where they were working on The Black Cauldron and it turned out to be a box office bomb, and then they would go and climb their way up, where they would be back as the kings of animation with The Lion King. And of course, there is a significant part in that documentary where it does discuss about Howard Ashman. So basically, why I'm really excited for this documentary in particular is that we will get a little bit of that taste of Waking Sleeping Beauty, but now it will emphasize a lot more on the works of Howard Ashman. And what I do hope from this documentary is that we would learn a lot more from Howard outside of some of the easily recognizable stuff. Because if you are a Disney fan, then chances are you have already heard about Howard's story again and again and again, about why he is one of the key players that really did help reshape Disney to really get back on top in the late 1980s and early 1990s with movies like Beauty and the Beast and The Little Mermaid. Especially with nowadays, like some of the most popular Disney songs actually do come from Howard Ashman. And even with the stuff from Aladdin, of course, he didn't do all of them, but some of the ones that the ones that he was involved with, they are very well known. They are very popular, like Arabian Night, Friend Like Me, and Prince Ali. Now, of course, like some of these, like they range in popularity and why they are popular, of course, because you got Arabian Night with that one controversial lyric, and then you would also have also Prince Ali is another, like, you know, a cute, beloved one, and then like Friend Like Me. Friend Like Me, like, you could debate that it's like one of the true standout songs among all of them, like almost in the same ranks as A Whole New World. And probably I would say maybe it's my favorite Disney song, honestly. I don't know, because I didn't fully think about it. Like, I've had people ask me what was my favorite Disney song, and it's something really that I never fully established or thought about, but I know that at least one of them, it would definitely be Friend Like Me. But at the same time, as I am excited for this documentary, that it will be from the creator of Waking Sleeping Beauty, and now emphasizing on Howard Ashman, I've already stated that I do hope that we will see more of Howard Ashman's talents outside of what we already know with what he has done at Disney. But also, I do hope that it will be a little more different than what we already got with Waking Sleeping Beauty. That I hope it's not like technically a rehash of the story that Disney fans have been told again and again and again. Especially with this documentary, since it is going to be coming from Disney as well, that hopefully they will emphasize some of the other projects that he has done in the past, like before going to Disney, that hopefully it's not just going to be the Disney things that will be dominating the whole documentary, because there will be a lot of things that they will mention that it's like been there, done that. You know, they mentioned like there's already a lot of elements that we already know about with Howard Ashman's involvement with Disney, and hopefully we will learn some new things about it, about Howard Ashman, and hopefully we will learn about more things in his personal life or in his professional career, or the stuff that he did go and help work on. You know, that's what I am hoping the most, is to go and learn more about who Howard Ashman is, and that maybe we won't just see like exclusively the Disney side of Howard Ashman, but hopefully like the stage musical side of Howard Ashman as well, where we would see him work on several different musical numbers, and how he would eventually meet up with some of the people that did end up in the Disney films, like how he had known Jodie Benson, or how he had known Paige O'Hara, or how he had known a few of those people. You know, that would be interesting to also learn, is just because the thing with Howard Ashman, like I said before, he really is one of the key players in building up the Disney Renaissance, outside of like the big heads and the big leaders that were at Disney at the time, like Roy E. Disney, Frank Wells, Michael Eisner, and Jeffrey Katzenberg. Because with Howard Ashman, he did bring in a lot of these cast members, a lot of the actors to be involved with these animated films, because a lot of them actually have more of a musical background, more so than an actual movie background. It's not like nowadays where animated films would just go and hire random A-list celebrities to be the voices and stuff. Well, basically what Howard Ashman really emphasized on is actually getting some legitimate musical talents to bring in Broadway people onto Disney. I think that's really the key thing that Howard Ashman brought, is to bring in the Broadway element and implement that on Disney's animated films, which is, you could say, is kind of a tradition that Disney is still following today, considering that you got movies like Frozen, where a lot of the people that did play characters in the movie, like when you think about Idina Menzel, Josh Gad, or even Jonathan Groff, like those people, they had a prominent Broadway background before entering upon Frozen, and then some of them would go on to become big name actors like Josh Gad or even Idina Menzel. Like right now, those are like very recognizable names. But with Howard, with this documentary, again, I'm very excited for it. I hope they're not just going to repeat what they have said in the past with stuff like Waking Sleeping Beauty, or with some of the bonus features like for Beauty and the Beast or for The Little Mermaid. And hopefully we will learn something new with Howard while having that spirit and that engagement and that style of storytelling that really made Waking Sleeping Beauty such a fantastic documentary. And that's what I'm excited about. And if you guys are interested in checking out this documentary, then all you have to do is just wait until August 7th, when this will officially come out on Disney+. Okay, so with that said, I would like to know, and I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, what do you think about the documentary of Howard? Or what do you think about the trailer that we have seen on Howard? I know it doesn't necessarily show a whole lot, but I would like to know your thoughts. Are you guys interested in checking out this documentary? Do you guys want to know more about Howard Ashman, or would you want to give it a pass because it doesn't necessarily pique your interest? Let me know what you all think. Hold on, I've really filled this thing up, so... Okay, there we go. I just had to be careful with my water because, like, it was, like, up to the brim. So I just want to make sure that I don't make, like, some crazy splash either on me or worse on my computer. Okay. Anyways, who do we got here? Just to clarify, Howard was indeed a producer for The Little Mermaid and an executive producer for Beauty and the Beast. Ah, okay. As an aspiring filmmaker, one of my biggest inspirations is indeed Howard. I am totally excited to witness how Howard helped to not only start the Disney Renaissance, but also help people in my generation to embrace the concept of the Broadway musical. P.S. Also, to correct, it was Alan who wrote the revised lyric to Arabian Nights, not Howard. Okay, well, I mean, I know that Howard Ashman was involved with Arabian Night. Like, he did write the lyrics at first, and then, like, Alan Menken did step in to help fix things up. That I know. Let's see, what else do we have? This looks to be a pretty cool documentary with the legacy of Howard Ashman. Although I'm not a documentary person, but it does get me interested. Oh, it does get my interest with this, but what I would love to see is a documentary about Disney in the 2000s with the Disney-Pixar split and creating Circle 7 along with their movies in that era and would later become successful later on in that decade. Oh, so you're basically asking about a documentary about, like, before Disney bought Pixar and they wanted to split up and then have Circle 7 and stuff like that. It could be something. Like, that could be an idea. I don't know if Disney would fully be committed to do that, but I don't know. Like, that sounds like a subject that is really specific that you could easily find on YouTube than Disney fully committing to make a full-on documentary about it. Let's see now. What else we got? This is a fabulously fantastic idea, and if it is as good as the Disney Plus documentary on Terry Gilkyson and the Sherman Brothers, then we are in a really sweet treat and get to see what makes the 90s Disney musicals really so revolutionary. I'm totally on board with this. Okay, so we got someone who's really hyped up for it. I may not be a documentary guy, but this looks intriguing. Howard Ashman was a revolutionary lyricist, having the role in creating some of my favorite Disney songs of all time, including Friend Like Me, and pretty much every song from Beauty and the Beast. So I'm fully down to see the story of his life. Speaking of Disney documentaries, you know what would make a good one? A documentary on the making of the first Toy Story. Well, I mean, like, you're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong. But then again, there are a few issues with that. Number one, that's a story that's already been told a lot. And I mean, there's already been documentaries that do talk about it, like the Pixar story by Leslie Iwerks. Like, that actually does go a lot into the making of Toy Story, since it is, like, partly a whole documentary on the history of Pixar. But then again, if you would go and do a documentary on the making of Toy Story, you also have to go and acknowledge John Lasseter, and I don't think people are ready for that. So, yeah, you gotta go into that little taboo subject. So, yeah, I get what you mean, and I mean, it is a very fascinating idea, and I can see the great potential with it, but honestly, it's... I like, the more you think about it, the more, well, at least for me, the more I think about it, the more I would feel a little bit hesitant. It's like, maybe not. There's, like, probably a few things we need to clarify before we would fully commit to that. Let's see, what else do we got here? The one thing I'm worried about this documentary is the length. The trailer is pretty short, so it gives me the indication that this will be short. Like, I don't know if it's a full 90 minutes or just 20 to 45 minutes. I worry with a potentially short runtime that it means that it won't have enough content and will repeat stuff. Though I know nothing about the documentary, will top the backstory stays fire. Well, no. I can guarantee you this will be a feature-length documentary. That this will be at least around 90 minutes, give or take. Maybe it could be a little bit longer, but I can guarantee that this will be, at least, at the very minimum, more than an hour. So it will go in depth into the life of Howard Ashman. I don't know if there are going to be some parts that will be more emphasized than the other, but I know that this is going to be a feature documentary. I don't know if it says specifically, but I am pretty confident it is a feature film, so don't worry about the length. It ain't going to be just like 20 minutes or a half hour or anything like that. That would actually shock me, but you know, like, at least that's my speculation. I think there's a very strong chance that this will be feature length. Let's see now. Did I read this one? Oh, probably. Oh, no, I don't think so. Getting to learn more about Howard and how others thought about him is something that certainly interests me. To see the times we got actually good singers instead of modern singers nowadays, I am certain that somewhere in heaven Howard is smiling. Yeah, I'm sure Howard would appreciate something like this. Let's see. I'll go and read one more comment before we're going to go and jump to the next story. We are finally getting to know more about Howard Ashman, and I am very excited about this. He's one of the best songwriters that Disney ever had. It's very unfortunate that he's officially gone too soon. I just know Howard is going to be emotional. I just know it. I did see his Disney Legend Award at the Walt Disney Studio in Burbank. I went emotional when I saw it. Oh, that's very nice of you, dude. So, yeah, once again, if you guys are interested in checking it out, don't forget, it'll be on August 7th, exclusively on Disney+. Okay, so now that we got that documentary out of the way, it is now time that we're going to jump onto our next story, and this will unfortunately be a little bit of a sad one, because as you guys recall, this week there have been a lot of significant deaths and a lot of big names that are unfortunately no longer with us. You guys probably know regarding the unfortunate passing of Naya Rivera. There was also the author, the original author of the Magic School Bus that is unfortunately gone. And just recently, they actually just announced that John Lewis, a prominent civil rights leader and a longtime American congressman, has unfortunately passed away. But then there is also one death that, for me at least, I would say this is the one that really did hit close to home. This was someone that I used to frequently watch. I would have a lot of fun watching them doing their crazy things. But in this case, seeing one of them suddenly no longer with us is just sadly shocking. And who I'm going to be talking about is Grant Imahara. Yes, the roboticist and electrical engineer Grant Imahara has unfortunately passed away at the young age of 49 due to a sudden brain aneurysm. Grant Imahara, like I said, is a roboticist and an electrical engineer who has worked on several different movies. Like, his main work was actually at THX and also Industrial Lights and Magic. And there are a lot of very recognizable movies that Grant has actually worked on. This would go, and I'll read from my source here on The Hollywood Reporter, where it states that some of the movies that Grant has worked on includes the Star Wars prequels. There is also the Matrix sequels, the Reloaded and Revolutions. There was also Galaxy Quest, XXX State of the Union, Van Helsing, The Lost World Jurassic Park, AI Artificial Intelligence, and Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines. One of his recent works that Grant has done, however, is not in movies, but rather with Disney Imagineering, where he actually worked on a special stunt animatronic, where the robot would be flung through the air and would make an epic pose and would actually land safely in another area. You might have seen, like, if you look into behind the scenes of what Disney Imagineering is currently working on right now, you have probably seen the stunt animatronic fly around a few times, and it was supposed to make its debut at Disney's California Adventure, where it would be dressed up as one of the Marvel superheroes, and the stunt animatronic would just be flying around. Like, for example, like, you would be walking around the campus and then suddenly you'll see Spider-Man just like flying around, just like you'll see him like hop, make a cool pose while shooting a web, and then just suddenly go down. That would be the intention that they wanted to do. Now, this is not necessarily canceled, but because of the fact that Disneyland is currently not open right now, we will have to wait and see when they're going to go and open the Avengers campus there, where we would also see the stunt animatronic. But the big thing that people recognize Grant Imahara the most is actually being one of the hosts of Mythbusters, along with the spiritual successor that was on Netflix for a little bit called White Rabbit Project. Now, technically, Grant wasn't one of the main hosts. He wasn't with Jamie Heineman and Adam Savage. He was one of the side hosts, you could say, next to Carrie Byron and Tori Belleci, where they would do some side myths on the side, where they would go and check out some other myths to give the show a bit of a variety in connection to the main myth that Jamie and Adam would be working hard on. So they would do a few of those to give you something in the meantime, while Jamie and Adam would go and set their things up in order to test out their myths. And he would also go and do a little bit of the same thing back in 2016 when Netflix would have something called the White Rabbit Project that did reunite Grant with Carrie and Tori, but it only lasted for one season, and that's pretty much it. And, for me, I have to say that I remember back in the 2000s, and maybe a little bit in the early 2010s as well, I used to really like watching Mythbusters. It wouldn't necessarily be a show that I would be fully committed to go and like watch every single episode whenever it's on TV, but it's the kind of show that you could just put it on whenever you want. Like, if you see it there, you could just put it on the TV and you'll know that you'll have a good time and probably learn a thing or two while watching some cool stuff and laugh with the crazy shenanigans that are happening with the hosts with whatever they would be working on. And regardless if it would be with Jamie and Adam or if it would be with Grant, Carrie, and Tori, like, it's always something that they would show that you would always have a great time with. And honestly, with the hosts, like, you could tell that they would go and put out their own distinct personalities that would make each of them pretty memorable. And with Grant, that's also one of those people that he does stand out among the group with his personality. Like, not only is he a massive brains of the group, like, he is a massive technical engineer that knows how to make sure the myth can go efficiently and knows the technical know-how of how to actually go and make it happen, but he's one of the people that you could definitely tell that with what he does, he loves his work and he loves like creating whatever he's doing and just loves to see the results happen. Like, this is a guy who really does, like, he lives to work and works to live. You know, he's one of those people that is very passionate with what he does, and you could definitely tell, regardless if it is either Mythbusters or maybe with some of the movies that he would go and work on, that he is fully committed to go and create and make something truly spectacular, to go and help out and create stories for filmmakers and stuff. You know, like he knows how to use his technical know-how and use his engineering skills in order to go and create something a little bit bigger than your typical engineering job, like to actually go and create some magic, you could say. And it's the same thing with myths as well, like to go and buff myths and to go and see if something would be real or if it's not real at the same time. And what's also really fun is that with Mythbusters, not just with what Grant would do, is that what's great about it is that even if they know the myth would be busted, like, they are still committed in trying to recreate the result, especially if it comes with explosions. Like, they really want to test out to see, like, what would something look like if it actually would do like the myth would say, because there are a lot of myths in Mythbusters that would require explosions, or that they say that something would explode. And if the result would be that, oh, it doesn't look like it can happen, if the regular fashion of what the myth would say itself, if it doesn't happen, then they will use everything they have, every skill and every tools that are at their disposal in order to recreate the result that is said to go and happen. And that's always a lot of fun, because they, like, with Mythbusters, they always know how to deliver when it comes to the results, even if it is something that could happen or if it wouldn't happen. And it's because of people like Grant that they would be able to go and make those myths happen, or to go and present them in quite a spectacular and very fun-filled way. But also there is something regarding Grant that really does stand out when it comes to, like, the Mythbusters hosts. And I mean, this could apply to all of them, but this really is true to Grant especially, is that among all the hosts, Grant is definitely the one that is the easiest to go and approach and is the friendliest among the crowd. Whenever people would go and talk about meeting Grant Imahara, or whenever they would stumble upon him live, rather it be at a convention or they would meet him somewhere, like coincidentally somewhere outside of the Mythbusters set, like, it's always a great story to tell. Like, it is very much true what Adam Savage said. In fact, oh crap, I think I forgot to mention a little quote from Adam Savage himself that he stated regarding this recent news about the unfortunate passing of Grant Imahara, in which Adam Savage states, "I'm at a loss. No words. I've been a part of two big families with Grant Imahara over the last 22 years. Grant was a truly brilliant engineer, artist, and performer, but also such a generous, easygoing, and gentle person. Working with Grant was so much fun. I'll miss my friend." And that's the thing. It's not just from Adam, but from so many other people, like, rather they be Mythbusters fans or people who just recognize him, they always have great stories to tell regarding meeting with Grant Imahara and how he is as a person. So that really is what makes this such a very unfortunate loss, because this is someone who really did play a very significant part in television history and also film history as well, not only being a prominent host of Mythbusters, but also being involved with some major movies in the past, working on some massive practical effects, or to go and make sure many of the practical effects or whatever effects that need to be done outside of computers, that he would be able to bring that to life. And especially as such a loving and caring person, it is always such a loss that when a good person would no longer be with us. So this is why, for me personally, as someone who is a fan of Mythbusters, and I guess you could say that I technically grew up with it, even though I watched it throughout my teen years and in my young adult years. I loved watching Mythbusters, and even to this day, if it is ever on TV, I could just put it on, and I know it'll be like a fun thing that would be on the television while everyone else is kind of like doing something else. You know, it's like it's something that you can't go wrong when you put Mythbusters up on the television. As someone who loved Mythbusters in the past, this really is a pretty heartbreaking news. So may Grant Imahara rest in peace, and hopefully also my condolences to his friends and family, and hopefully they will be strong during this time, and hopefully they can move on without Grant, even though it is something that I'm sure it will be very, very tough. So with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask, do you guys have any thoughts regarding Grant Imahara? Do you have any memories that you would like to share, whether it be any of the practical effects that he has worked on in movies that really did stand out to you that he actually was involved with? Or if you have watched Mythbusters, do you have like a favorite moment? Oh, excuse me. Do you have a favorite moment with Grant Imahara? I would like to know your thoughts, and write down your comments. I am curious to know. Oh, wow. I'm honestly very shocked that not many of you have actually watched Mythbusters. Really? You know, I'm surprised. Like, how is it that you guys haven't seen it? Wow, like you need to, man. It's a really fun show. In fact, like I could even say right now, like I think there are a few episodes, or maybe it's just that one in particular, but I know there are a few episodes that they actually look into cartoon physics, that they actually experimented to see if there are some legit cartoon physics that can actually work in real life. Like I remember one episode, they actually experimented. Excuse me. There we go. Sorry, it's just my my throat is not cooperating with me. I know I'm all choked up about this. But in all seriousness, back to what I was talking about. But the thing is, there was one myth that they actually tested out is to see if you can actually block a shotgun by just putting your finger on it, because you would see those Bugs Bunny cartoons where Bugs would try to outsmart Elmer Fudd by like just putting his finger or putting a carrot on the shotgun, and it would just blow back onto Elmer Fudd's face. They actually did test that out, and the results, I'll just say it's not pretty. Of course, they didn't test it on an actual person or on an actual finger, but they did replicate what would be the results, and yeah, that's not a real thing that you should do in order to block out a gun. I'm just saying. Okay. Anyways, back to what I was talking about. Back to any of the comments. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Rest in peace to Grant Imahara. I had a ball seeing a few Mythbusters episodes, and I had no idea until now that he did some special effects for the Star Wars prequels, Jurassic Park 2, Artificial Intelligence, The Matrix sequels, Van Helsing, and Terminator 3, films my cousins love to watch. It's a shame a brain disease has killed a young man, just like HIV killed a young lyricist we talked about earlier. May he and his work please the heavens above, and may he rest in peace. Yes. Let's see. Do we have it? I really want to know. Do we have people? I've seen people. Oh, I have seen pieces of the show, but I heard they did an episode on Jaws. Yeah, they did. They actually looked into several movies. They did myths about like Indiana Jones, on Star Wars, on Jaws. They did James Bond. Like they probably had a few James Bond specials, but there are several myths that are like specifically movie themed, and sometimes like movie themed in general. Let's see, what else do we got? Someone else would like to mention something. There we go. I've seen one part where they talked about slipping on a banana peel, and they went through an obstacle course, and it was hilarious. Other than that, I didn't watch the show. Rest in peace, dude. Yeah. Of course, yeah, that's pretty much the cartoon physics that I'm talking about. Like, they even tested out, like, the banana peel thing. Let's see. It's a shame that a guy so young passed on. I would have loved to meet him and shake his hand. I still find it bizarre that he worked on Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. I really enjoy watching Mythbusters just like you. I might go back to watch the show now. Rest in peace. And I mean, yeah, we, like, I mean, you pretty much can have a chance because Discovery did just announce that in honor of Grant Imahara's passing, they are going to do a marathon. I don't know if this already passed, but I know that at some point they did mention they were, they did want to do a whole marathon of Mythbusters in honor of Grant Imahara. Let's see, what else do we got here in the comments? It is just devastating to see someone like Grant to just go. Even to say he was so young, he had so much to go. To say I loved his works in Mythbusters because, of course, every episode ends with a bang. Boom! My favorite are the movie-based episodes, mostly the Star Wars special. To say he was a great engineer and a great host, may he rest in peace. All right, I'll go and read one more comment before... Oh, excuse me. Before we go and jump on to the next one, I swear I only had chicken nuggets. Well, let's see. Do we have? Where is it? Oh yeah, that's true. I remember the Buried Alive and the Bull Hating Red episode. Yes, I remember that one. Like they did try to test out if bulls hate the color red, which is why they would go and charge like during during bullfighting stuff or bullfighting games and stuff. And then there was also if you want context on the Buried Alive episode, I think they wanted to test out the scene in Kill Bill where if it is possible to get yourself out of a coffin and to dig yourself out of to dig yourself out being buried 6 feet under. Like they did try to go and test that out, and I think that myth was pretty much busted. Okay, but do we have any others? Let's see. I'll just read one quick. I'll probably go see one quick read. All right, I'll just read this one. I never really seen Mythbusters, but Imahara's robotic works is really something to behold. So with that, I say Godspeed to Grant Imahara. I'll probably check out Mythbusters soon enough, but until I do, his work at Industrial Lights and Magic should never go unnoticed. Absolutely, man. It really shouldn't. And yeah, like I said before, may Grant Imahara rest in peace. Okay, so with that said, I think it is time now that we should go and lighten up the mood a little bit. You know, let's go and have some more fun topics to go and discuss. And with our next story that we have here, hopefully that can go and fit the bill. Because this is actually regarding a discussion a lot of people have had in the past. Like, this is something that I'm sure at one point even you have been involved in this kind of discussion, rather it be with just your friends, or you may have found this on social media. But never once has it actually been confirmed before. They were all fan theories in the past, but it looks like we finally have an official confirmation, and now it can actually be canon, or at least one of the iterations of it. And what I'm talking about is regarding Velma Dinkley from Scooby-Doo. Yes, it is official. She is a lesbian, or at least she was in the Mystery Incorporated series back in 2010. Now, as you guys probably know, there have been tons of discussions regarding the sexuality of Velma. Like, a lot of people would go and ask if there would be at least one gay person among the crew of Mystery Inc., who would it be? And the number one person that people would go and say the most is Velma. Second place would be Fred. Sometimes people would say Daphne as well, but then again, people would only mention Daphne as like the girlfriend of Velma, which in this case, that doesn't necessarily count, mainly because she's more like people just use her as like a little piece of evidence about the fact that Velma is more gay than anyone else. But in this case here, it looks like there is indeed a confirmation that in the Mystery Incorporated series, Velma is indeed gay, and this was actually confirmed by the producer of the show, Tony Cervone. And in that series in particular, a lot of people would go and have discussions about that as well. That especially. In fact, I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if that show was probably the one that really did ignite all this discussion. That really did bring up the fact about the possibility if Velma is actually gay or not. Because there are a lot of people that would say that the series would be proof that she was not gay, because of the fact that they did mention, or there were some moments where Velma did actually date Shaggy. But that may not actually be the case. In fact, her dating Shaggy actually proved more that she was gay. And I'm going to read to you the response that Tony Cervone did on Instagram, where it states here, let's see, this is Tony Cervone's response to one of the people, to like a little discussion that happened on Instagram regarding Velma's sexuality. And it states, I've said this before, but Velma in Mystery Incorporated is not bi. She is gay. We've always planned on Velma acting a little off and out of character while she was dating Shaggy, because that relationship was wrong for her and she had unspoken difficulty with the why. There are hints about the why in that episode with the mermaid, and if you follow the entire Marcy arc, it seems as clear as we could have made it 10 years ago. I don't think Marcy and Velma had time to act on their feelings during the main timeline, but post-reset, they are a couple. You could not like it, but this was our intention. So basically, Tony Cervone pretty much confirmed that it is not only confirmed, but it is part of the canon in that series that Velma is indeed gay, where they wanted to use the dating of Shaggy and Velma as a bit of a tool to prove that she's not really comfortable with dating men, and that she's more into dating women than really dating someone like Shaggy or just dating a guy in general. And by the way, just on a quick side note, I would like to mention that it is a bit of a coincidence that there is also another story that was revealed regarding Velma's sexuality in another iteration of Scooby-Doo, but this one did not make it in the final cut. It was like one of those originally planned things, and what I'm talking about is regarding the 2002 live-action movie. Now, in here, this was actually confirmed by James Gunn, who actually did write the script. And on Twitter, he mentioned that he originally wanted Velma to be gay. That's what he planned out in his script. But the reason why she didn't come out as gay in the movie is mainly because of the executives at Warner Brothers who kept on watering down that whole idea. I'll go and read you from my source here on CNN what he said on Twitter. James Gunn stated, in 2001, Velma was explicitly gay in my initial script for the 2002 live-action Scooby-Doo movie. But the studio just kept watering it down and watering it down, becoming ambiguous during the version that they filmed during like the whole shooting of the Scooby-Doo movie. Then full-on nothing on the release version. So in the final version of that movie, there are no hints whatsoever about Velma's sexuality or if she was indeed gay and into women and stuff. And then finally, having a boyfriend in the sequel, Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed. If you have seen that movie, then you may remember there was a moment where they try to establish a bit of a love connection between Velma and this one other guy played by Seth Green. And basically, what James Gunn is trying to say is that this was pretty much Warner Brothers' answer for James Gunn to say that no, they absolutely did not want Velma to be gay, and like they really want to try to kill that idea and dig it into its own grave, like really try to hide that fact forever. And the way that they would do so is that they would they would try to completely hide it for the original movie and really try to put that final nail in the coffin by adding a boyfriend onto the sequel of that feature film to just say like, nope, Velma is straight, end of story, let's not discuss that anymore. Because you do have to keep in mind, it was the early 2000s, and back then, the subject of homosexuality and the LGBTQ plus community back then, it was just a very taboo subject in itself. That was still like, you know, when someone would come out as gay, it would be considered like a seriously massive scandal, like really the kind that would just make headlines everywhere. Yeah, like that's just a little bit of an extra thing to go and mention because it is kind of coincidental about the subject of Velma being gay being prominent throughout this week. And I just gotta say, I have not personally seen much episodes of Mystery Incorporated. Like, of course, I have mentioned before, I was a Scooby-Doo fan in the past, and I've watched a lot of the old series, and I did watch some episodes of What's New Scooby-Doo, or I think I have seen all the episodes of that one. But, like, from later on, like from then on with Scooby-Doo, I haven't really seen all that much, but I was aware of some of the shows that they have worked on, including stuff like Mystery Incorporated. In fact, I think I have heard some pretty decent stuff about Mystery Incorporated. It's not one of the worst iterations, but it was trying to be its own thing while still being a Scooby-Doo series. But I will say this. The more I have done my research on it, the more that I looked into it, and more learning about how the series went, and the relationship with Velma and Shaggy, and the character of Marcy, who is also known as Hot Dog Water, that's her nickname in the series, the more that I realized it's like, okay, this is a little bit too obvious. It's like, now that the information is out there, now you could pretty much see everything. Like, I'm sure for fans of Mystery Incorporated, you can go and rewatch that episode, like, you can rewatch the episodes right now, and then suddenly, it just makes everything clear that, oh yeah, you can now fully tell that they wanted to build Velma to be gay, especially with Hot Dog Water. And if you really want more massive proof of that, we can actually do a little bit of that right now. I actually have a clip here that we can go and check out, which is a part of the ending of the final episode. This was like the epilogue of the whole series, and we do have a little bit of a moment where we have Velma and Marcy together. So let's just go and check this little clip out, and you'll see. Hold on a sec. All right. There we go.
Please, Marcy, please, tell me what's going on.
V, this is no time for fooling around. We're preparing for this year's Tri-State Olympiad of Science, which we have always won.
Schrodinger's cat.
Huh? Our event is about mineral erosion. What's the many worlds interpretation of quantum physics have to do with it?
Everything! I gotta tell the gang.
That's my girl.
So, with that little interaction that they had there, it's pretty much undeniably clear. It's like, oh yeah, like, I know Tony Cervone said that they didn't fully establish it, but in this little clip here, it's like, oh yeah, I think, like, it's pretty much clear. It's pretty much like, yeah, it's been confirmed. And plus the fact that the more you look at Marcy, the more you look at Hot Dog Water, the more you realize that not only did they make Velma gay, but they full-on gave her Velma's dream girl. Like, you look at Marcy and how she is as a character and how she's been throughout the series and stuff. Like, they really did go and really went out of their way to create a character that would basically be a perfect match for Velma. Like, if you would go and ask Velma, who would be your dream girl? Who would be, like, the perfect girlfriend for you? It would basically be a lot of the attributes that you see with Hot Dog Water right here. Where, basically, you got a girl that is similar to Velma, this geeky girl that's really into science. She's a little bit more thinner, she has a bit more of an attitude, but it's the way that Velma likes. So, honestly, now it's just absolutely hilarious the way that it's just way too clear now. It's like, okay, now we know the direction you're going, and yeah, now we can totally see why you would want to make Velma gay. And honestly, nowadays, it wouldn't be surprising if in the future this would be something that maybe a future series of Scooby-Doo would go and explore a bit more. Considering that nowadays we are in an age of animated television where they are a lot more open to go and discuss a lot of these social issues, and not to mention that they are a lot more open to feature some gay characters, rather it be like some side characters, like just, like maybe just in the background, or maybe be a part of like the main cast, or just to be helping out the main character and stuff. Like, they are a lot more open to feature gay couples in cartoons nowadays, and I wouldn't be surprised if maybe there would be a future Scooby-Doo series where they would go back to this concept. Maybe they would bring back Marcy and really integrate that into the Scooby-Doo series. Like, that could be a possible idea that they could explore. In fact, that would actually be pretty cool, actually, if Scooby-Doo can also look into a bit of some serious subject matter, where they could actually go and have Scooby-Doo where they would go and discuss some legitimate social issues, issues about race, issues about corruption, some commentary of our modern society and stuff. Like, they could actually go and dive deep into it, and talking about gay rights and gay issues. I think that would be something that could be interesting for something like Scooby-Doo to go and discuss, and they already have a pretty obvious vehicle here that they could go with, that they've already established in the past. So if they would bring this back up in the future, then it would officially be canon. It would be something that there is a prominent history about it. And I mean, like I said before, I can already understand why this didn't necessarily happen back in 2002 when James Gunn wanted Velma to be gay before. But again, that was back in like the early 2000s when just being gay was considered a heavily taboo subject. But nowadays, like, since society nowadays is a lot more accepting towards the LGBTQ plus community, not to say that like homophobia is gone for good or transphobia is gone for good, that's still a prominent issue, and like they still have a long way to go in order to have the same rights as straight people. But in this case here, I would totally be down to see a new Scooby-Doo series or a new Scooby-Doo moment where they would bring this back up, where they would mention that Velma is gay, or they would explore LGBTQ plus issues and have Velma kind of like be the main star of that, or someone who is the most knowledgeable on this kind of topic. I mean, she's already the brains of the group, so like of course she would be more than qualified to go and have this discussion. So honestly, I think I'm perfectly fine with just Velma being gay, and honestly, that is an idea that I feel like, honestly, the franchise should go and explore more. I would love to see Scooby-Doo tackle on LGBTQ plus subjects. Rather it be like maybe for a future direct-to-DVD sequel, like a direct-to-DVD Scooby-Doo movie that's based around pride parades and stuff, or maybe like for a new series that they would talk about LGBTQ plus themes. I would totally be down, and like with Velma, they're already set for it. So, with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to know, what do you think about Velma being gay in Mystery Incorporated and was about to be gay for the Scooby-Doo movie? Is it an idea that you would be down for it? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's a bad idea? Let me know what you all think of this. Okay. Well, let's see. What would we have here? I am very happy they confirmed this. As someone who has seen Mystery Incorporated and, in my opinion, the best Scooby-Doo series, this is so obvious that they made Velma gay, and it shows how the animated series is willing to push the envelope and make more cartoon characters gay. And I think this is a way better pairing than Velma and Shaggy. Yeah, like, I'm gonna be honest. Like even with the whole pairing of Velma and Shaggy, I don't know if that's honestly a pairing that I could legitimately see happen. I don't know. I'm, like, just thinking about it, like, if I would have to play the shipping game, I don't know if Shaggy would be the kind that would actually pair up with one of the people, with the gang, you know? I wouldn't see Shaggy with Daphne, I wouldn't see Shaggy with Velma, but you know, the irony is that I could probably see Shaggy with Fred, actually. Like, if there is if there is another gay relationship going on, then I could probably see Fred and Shaggy get together. Like, I know they kind of established before that Fred is straight in the past, but you never know. Maybe they can make Fred bi and, like, try out a relationship with Shaggy. Who knows? That could be a thing, but all I'm saying is that I could see Shaggy with Fred before seeing Shaggy with either Daphne or even with Velma. Let's see, what else do we got here? Well, this makes a lot of sense. I mean, remember when Velma was going out with Johnny Bravo, the only boy she had. So, I mean, she probably was turned off by men to how Johnny Bravo treats women. Oh god. You know, that's kind of like a nightmare scenario for guys that they like trust me, a lot of people would not mention this, but for some guys, they feel like that's kind of a nightmare for them, that they would go on a date and it would go so badly that the girl the guy was dating with decided to become a lesbian from then on. I know that technically, like, that doesn't necessarily work. Like, that's not how people become gay in the first place. Oh, excuse me. But I do know that it is a fear that some guys could have. Like, I know that's technically a myth per se, but the fear is real. The fear is definitely real. So, who knows? Maybe Johnny Bravo really did do that, but nah, probably not. Okay. Let's see. To be honest, I always imagined that Fred would be the gay Scooby-Doo character, but Velma was up there. I have to give Cervone props for actually planning this out and not doing what J.K. Rowling does and just say, oh, hey, this character, yeah, he's gay, we good? I guess you could say that the Mystery Inc. members have a bit of a unique sexuality. Velma and Daphne are dating. Shaggy married God by using 0.6% of his power. Scooby has a crush on Shaggy, as evidenced by the "Are you cheating on me?" line. And then, well, then there's Fred, I guess, couldn't finish his message. But, yeah, yes, Shaggy married God. You know, for a second, I thought you would go in, like, some kind of Christianity route, but no, it's like, Shaggy literally married God, and he's the more dominant one of the couple. But yeah, no, at least you know, at least it is good that they did at least incorporate that, at least where we can see some legitimate proof of this. And with the J.K. Rowling thing, like, at least they didn't cheap out like what she did. It's like, you know, she would mention on Twitter about stuff like, oh yeah, Dumbledore is super gay. He's the gayest gay that ever gayed in gay history. She would go on about that, but then when it comes to actually, like, okay, can you put that in, like, a new book, or can you really define that in one of the movies? She would be like, no, can't do that. Like, you need to have the source material itself to also prove it. And that's what's great about Mystery Incorporated, where, like, yeah, it's a little bit ambiguous. Like, it's a little bit, well, no pun intended, it was a little bit of a mystery in a way where they only put out subtle hints, but at least they did put out legitimate clues that did indicate that Velma is gay, especially with Marcy here. I think Marcy is just the biggest evidence because, again, she's not just Velma's girlfriend. She is full on Velma's dream girl. They built a dream girl for Velma. So that, I feel like, is the biggest evidence that you could ever find in all this. Let's see, what else do we got? All right. While this is an interesting idea, but if they did go with the idea, I think it would have been poorly executed and it wouldn't exactly go well with the whole family viewing experience at the time. Are you talking about, are you talking about the James Gunn version? Probably. However, I would love to write a gay character in my own original stories, but I may easily anger people unintentionally, and it could be unfair, and it could get unfairly banned somewhere in the world. As an author, what do I do? Okay, well, I'll just say right now, if you want to write a book, or if you want to write something, and it does feature a gay character, if you are worried about getting banned in a specific country because it does feature a gay character, well, I'll just say, suck it up, because it's gonna happen anyways. There are still a few countries out there that are still heavily bigoted and heavily homophobic, so you know what, you just gotta say, screw that country, they don't need your money anyways. And if you want to avoid angering people with a wrong representation of a gay character, then go and do your research. Go and actually discuss with some gay characters, gay characters. Go and discuss with people of the LGBTQ plus community. Go talk to them about how to go and properly portray gay characters in stories and in the type of stories that you want to go and write, and then just go on from there. Or just casually bring it up, just make it try to treat it as a coincidental thing. Create your character first, and just have it be a coincidence. It's oh, by the way, this person is gay, and then just go from there. That could be a way that you can go and approach that, because keep in mind, rather they be gay, lesbian, or if they're trans, or if they're cis, or if they're straight, or whatever, people are people regardless. They are no different than, gay people are no different than straight people, and trans people are no different than cis people. So really, there's not that much of a difficulty to go and really write about it. If it is that much of an issue in your head about how to go and approach it, then you're probably already doing it wrong in the first place. Let's see now. What else do we got here? Just want to see another one. Was there someone? I think someone actually did write an interesting comment. I've tried to find it. Oh, there we go. On one hand, I am tired of creators revealing that a character is gay sometime after their work. We all know what happened with J.K. Rowling and Dumbledore. On the other hand, we do have some countries whose morality and mentality are so outdated that they belong in the Middle Ages, like Russia and China. So we might still see creators do this in the future. Well, okay, yeah, I do understand that they're some people might find that a little bit tiring to try to force their way to have their old show be inclusive or something like that. But this is an exception though, because you could tell that they did intentionally made Velma gay. It wasn't something that is a last minute add-on right after they would go and release their work. This was something that they intentionally did during the time that they were making the show. And in this case here, that's what the people at Mystery Incorporated wanted to do. They originally planned to have Velma gay, and maybe some people might not have caught that immediately, but yeah, it's confirmed now. It has been revealed. So at that point, that one does get a pass, mainly because that was their intention there, and they did leave out some clues where now it actually does make sense, because we do see the evidence within the show. All right, I'll go and read one more comment before we're going to jump into the next story. Let's see. Woof, if they kept Velma gay in the live-action Scooby-Doo movie, it would have been banned in my country, and I wonder what effect that would have caused for the 2000 Scooby-Doo cartoons like What's New Scooby-Doo, or even reruns of the previous shows like Where Are You? Not against LGBT, but boy, does my country have a big grudge against it. At least Dumbledore's homosexuality was well hidden when they released the Harry Potter films. Yeah, it's so well hidden that it's non-existent. It's kind of like no, actually, I just realized another example. It's kind of like it's like with the Beauty and the Beast remake, where they said that LeFou was gay, but they only had like one small little freaking hint. At least in the, yeah, sure, like maybe you could argue in Mystery Incorporated, yeah, the hints that Velma was gay, like they were just very minor and very subtle and just way too easy to miss. But there were several of them that they kept throughout the show, like they scattered all across, where now we do have several evidence that it does make sense. So that's kind of the thing, is that with Scooby-Doo, is that, yeah, they did actually manage to really put it out there. Dumbledore doesn't necessarily count as a gay character, mainly because of the fact that we don't have any actual clues to the source material itself. J.K. Rowling is just saying that, like, out in the open on Twitter. That isn't necessarily a confirmed source. Like, I know, like, yeah, it's the original author. It's the creator of Harry Potter, so there must be some truth to it, or it should apply to the legitimate lore. Well, yes, but at the same time, there should also be some major hints. There should be some major clues within the source materials themselves in order to show that as well. I mean, like, you could pretty much go out and, like, you could have, like, some kind of Disney representative and say that Peter Pan was gay. Like, in the 1953 film, Peter Pan is, yeah, he's actually gay, believe it or not. But there is no confirmation about that whatsoever during the making of the movie or anything like that. Just, like, if you really want to confirm that your character is part of the LGBT community, or, you know, if it is, like, if your character does belong in a specific community, then you gotta try to go and confirm it in the source material. Don't make it something that you would say on the side, while leave it completely ambiguous, or just have no hints of it whatsoever in the source material itself. Okay. But, yeah, I think that pretty much settles it for this story. I pretty much had my fill on this little discussion. Okay, now, for the next story that we are going to talk about, we will be discussing an upcoming feature, and an interesting upcoming feature as well, because this actually does involve a prominent filmmaker who is mainly well known for his live-action films, but has worked on a few animated features as well. And who I'm going to be talking about, it's going to be regarding Richard Linklater. Yes, Richard Linklater is back, working on a new animated feature, this time called Apollo 10.5. I believe it has a bigger title, though. I'm using my source here in Variety, and it only says Apollo 10.5, but I think it does have, like, a bigger title, like Apollo 10.5, a Space Ace Adventure, or something like that. But in short, it's just called Apollo 10.5. And this is going to be a new animated feature that Richard Linklater is going to be working on. He is going to be the writer and the director, and does have a pretty prominent cast that's already involved, that will feature Jack Black, Zachary Levi, and Glenn Powell. In fact, if you want to know what the story is about, I'll read from my source here on Variety, as it states, Apollo 10.5 is inspired by Linklater's childhood in Houston. Linklater directed from his own script, which attempts to interweave the astronaut and mission control view, along with an excited child's perspective living near NASA, but mostly watching it on television. The film centers around a kid's fantasy about being plucked from his average life in suburbia to secretly train for a covert mission to the moon. And we also got a little bit of a quote here from Richard Linklater himself. It states here, "It struck me years ago that this was my film to make, from both a chronological and proximity level. I was there going into 3rd grade. Our unique animation style allows both the conjuring of a world long gone and the flowing, playful expression of memory and imagination. It's been a fun creative journey to incorporate things like 3D graphics into a live-action shoot to help bring this story to life. Now, to give you guys a bit more of a perspective of Richard Linklater, his previous animated features that he has worked on include Walking Life and A Scanner Darkly. The latter was actually a movie that I have reviewed years and years ago. But with Richard Linklater's animated films, they are very unique in terms of his approach because he likes to combine several different mediums. He likes to shoot in live action first, and then he would go and incorporate hand-drawn animation and computer animation as well, resulting, at least judging by the 2 previous features, he does this heavily rotoscope style that is very similar to the rotoscope works of Ralph Bakshi when you would look into stuff like American Pop or his Lord of the Rings movie. So with Richard Linklater, he would go and be very experimental and see how he would push animation by blending live action shots and use animation to bring some of those elements to life and bring a bit of fantasy elements to life as well. And if you want to know some of the live action films that he has worked on, just to let you know, he has been recognized a lot by the Oscars, where he had several nominations for movies such as Boyhood, Before Midnight, and Before Sunset. But also, he has worked on other movies. He was the director on films such as Dazed and Confused, School of Rock, Last Flag Flying, Everybody Wants Some, and Where'd You Go, Bernadette? And and honestly, like, it is a very, like, he definitely is a very unique director, and at least he is someone that maybe you are not familiar with his name, but you are most certainly familiar with at least one movie that he has worked on. Like, chances are, you have probably seen School of Rock, or, I don't know, maybe you're too young to have already seen School of Rock, but I remember when it was a pretty big movie back in the day. And especially as an animation fan, I have witnessed both A Scanner Darkly and Walking Life, and they are definitely strange movies. And I would go as far and say that they are pretty abstract animated features. They are not like the common mainstream animated films that you would get. Of course, they are a lot more adult. I guess you could say they are a lot more contemporary in a sense, where they are a bit more abstract and they lean heavily more towards creating a commentary, more so than really pushing a distinct art style on, or just like full on tell a cohesive linear narrative story. He does, like with Richard Linklater, he likes to experiment. He likes to go beyond what is commonly known for crafting an animated film. And you could tell that with this one, you could see that he's already working on like the live action bits where he is working with the kid, doing like one of the fantasy sequences. And I would say, like, definitely I could judge by this story, at least in terms of the synopsis and stuff like that, this will absolutely be a lot more family friendly than Walking Life and A Scanner Darkly, mainly because of the fact that it does star a kid, and it will mainly look into a kid's perspective during the Apollo moon landing. And, of course, like, there will be elements where we are going to enter in his imagination, where he would wish to secretly be a part of this mission and go to the moon and all that kind of stuff. So we will get a lot of the kid's perspective, and it will definitely be one of Richard Linklater's more family-friendly kind of films, which we know that he could definitely do. Like, yeah, he has done a lot of more mature and more adult features, but at the same time, he has had experience working on family films as well. Case in point with School of Rock. Now, and actually, you know what? I just realized that it is actually quite a coincidence that this is a bit of a reunion of the director of School of Rock, and we got Jack Black back. So yeah, of course, like, we're gonna have another movie with Jack Black coming back with the School of Rock director. So that could probably be something to go and hype up a bit with this story right here. But honestly, this does seem pretty intriguing, and I don't know what to fully expect because let's be honest, with what we have seen with A Scanner Darkly and Walking Life, it's hard to really know what Richard Linklater is really going to pull off with this movie in particular, but I am definitely intrigued. It has piqued my interest, I will say. And by the way, if you want to know like when this is going to be coming out or when this will be picked up or something like that, we don't really have an official release date. We know that this is what Richard Linklater is currently working on, judging by this picture that Variety has of Richard Linklater working on this series. But then again, it has been confirmed that it has been picked up by Netflix. That Netflix is going to be the one that will go and distribute this film. In fact, they have confirmed that Netflix actually picked up not just this one, but there was also another animated feature that Netflix did pick up. It was an independent film that did its rounds on a few festivals, and now it's going to be put up on Netflix, kind of like in the same way as I Lost My Hand. If you guys know which one I'm talking about, oh, and some people are correcting me that when it comes to some people want to go and confirm to me that with Walking Life, it's the title is actually Waking Life. Okay, I apologize for that, but if you guys know which movie I was talking about, and also it's I Lost My Body. Okay, I Lost My Body. Oh, for God's sakes, I need to get my titles right. But what I was trying to say in the first place is that if you guys know what I am talking about when it comes to the animated film that Netflix did pick up along with Apollo 10.5, you can go and tell me in the comments. Overall though, I will say that I am pretty curious about this. I don't know if this is going to turn out to be great. I don't know if this is going to be good or bad or anything like that. You never know with Richard Linklater, but this will be intriguing. I am curious to know how this is going to go because I know this will be a unique experience. I know this is going to be a feature that will stand out in itself, especially artistically with its animation, and especially with that it did promise that it is going to be blending so many things together, blending hand-drawn, blending computer, blending live-action shots, that this will definitely be something that will try to do so many things at the same time, but it's the kind of things that, yeah, it's going to be tough to execute, but in the right hands, this could probably turn out to be great. And with Richard Linklater, you know, I think there is a good chance that it could turn out well. We don't know when this is coming out, but we know that it will come out soon on Netflix. Okay, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall and I would like to ask you all, what do you all think about Apollo 10.5? Is this a movie that you guys would be interested in checking out? Are you guys a little bit doubtful about it? Do you feel like the idea of having Richard Linklater work on it could be a more appealing thing? Let me know what you think now. Okay. Richard Linklater does great movies such as Spy Kids and Bad News Bears. Wait, is that him really? Spy Kids and Bad News Bears? I don't know. Let's see. The movie Bernie. Oh, okay. And the movie Bernie starring Jack Black and School of Rock starring Jack Black and Beavis and Butthead Do America. So I have the confidence in the world that he will make a unique and fun animated movie, whether it be good, that remains to be seen, but it surely has a unique art style and unique writing that will mess with your head and play with expectations. Oh, okay, yeah. That is, that is actually true. That's one thing I forgot to mention about Richard Linklater is that, especially with a lot of his works, and really with his animated films, he really does like to play with expectations. Like, he really is the kind of director that likes to have some surprises and likes to leave the audience guessing with his feature films, which is a good thing. You know, that is a nice indicator of a pretty solid film where like you keep the audience guessing into what happens with some of the features, and like you put in the you put in like some little clues of what could happen, but then like you could take some left turns. Like Richard Linklater can do that a lot, so maybe he will also go and incorporate that onto this movie as well. Let's see, Matt. Let's see now. Let's see. What is going on? I don't know. It seems out of context, but let's see. Hey, AniMat, hopefully you see this, but I doubt it. My high school graduation is next Thursday, and I started watching your reviews when I was about 12 or 13, and you helped me want to be a movie critic, even though I know I'll get backlash. He also becoming a theater nerd, and what's a show that's really good that people recommend? I don't have Disney Plus, so I can't watch Hamilton. So basically what you're asking, what would be a show? A show? Do you mean like a series, or do you mean like an actual stage musical? You just need to specify on that to help me answer that for you. Let's see now. What else do we got? When Richard Linklater makes an animated movie, he does everything he can to make them stand out. Me and my family are also big space history nuts, so I might keep this on radar, especially if it's showing a new perspective on the moon landing. Also, speaking of Richard Linklater, some of his films like Boyhood and Dazed and Confused are in the Criterion collection, so I wonder if one day they will also add A Scanner Darkly to the collection. That is actually a very good question. Like, I know that chances are, but I don't know about A Scanner Darkly, though, but I'm pretty confident that if there would be another animated film that would be a part of the Criterion collection, then I feel like one that would have a good chance into getting it would actually be Waking Life. I feel like that could have a stronger chance, because I feel like there are more people who would talk about that film more so than A Scanner Darkly. So that's my guess, at least. So you do bring up a good point there. Let's see, what else do we got? This honestly does sound really interesting. So far, it boasts a fantastic premise and an intriguing cast. Plus, this is from the director known for going above and beyond with filmmaking. How can I not be psyched? Maybe it won't be as revolutionary as Boyhood, but it'll be fun seeing Jack Black in a Linklater movie again. Yeah, exactly. I guess like, we already got a full show like a movie. I don't know. Like which movie? Okay, so the previous comment came back to me and said, I guess like a full show like a movie. I don't know how to put it. Okay, like but yeah, again, you need to specify like what movie to watch. Like, are you asking me for what movie you want to watch in general, or? Again, it's like a show is a very broad term, so you got to specify like if you want me to recommend a TV series, a movie, or a stage musical or something like that. Sorry. I just want to make sure I can clarify the answer for you to go and properly answer that question. Let's see, what else do we got? Do we have? All right, I'll go and read one more comment, actually. Oh, stage musical. Okay, stage musicals. So, stage musicals that I can recommend right now quickly. If you want some recommendations on stage musicals, I'll just say, just random recommendations out of my head. Phantom of the Opera, The Lion King, Hamilton, what else? Just quickly think. Whatever, Producers and Spamalot. There you go. So, hopefully that will answer your question. Anyways, one more thing to go and one more comment to read before we go into the next subject. Let's see now. Richard Linklater is making another animated film? Hell yeah, sign me up. I honestly cannot wait to see it on Netflix soon, and I am a fan of Richard Linklater's films. One of my favorite moments in the Scanner Darkly is Alex Jones getting punched in the stomach. Good time. So yeah, it's going to be good, hopefully. I honestly don't remember. Like, it's been a while since I've seen a Scanner Darkly, and I don't really remember much of it today, especially nowadays. Like, it is, like, I will admit, it is a pretty confusing movie, but I don't remember Alex Jones getting punched in the face. I need to rewatch at least that part. You know, like, at least just to get some satisfaction of the kind of treatment that people like Alex Jones, or people who unironically watch Alex Jones, deserves. Alright, so with that said, it is now time that we are going to go into the grand finale. And with the grand finale, we are going to go back into a little bit of a serious subject matter, and this is going to be something that a lot of people have been discussing about. Now, what I'm going to show you here, regarding the news itself, I'm not going to specifically go and talk about that, but it is going to be an entry point regarding a bigger issue. Now, what I am going to be talking about, of course, shall be the case with what is happening with the Disney parks. And it has been revealed that this week that Hong Kong Disneyland immediately decided to close their doors. Early in the summer, they decided to go and reopen Hong Kong Disneyland because so far, the situation with the pandemic in the area really did settle down, and it felt like it was in a situation that was a bit under control, where the entire area felt comfortable to go and reopen a place like Hong Kong Disneyland once again, but of course with a lot of the restrictions, like mandatory masks and social distancing and like rigorous cleanups all the time. Like, they would have to go and really incorporate a lot of those. And apparently what has happened is that in Hong Kong, they recently have noticed that there was a massive spike in the area in terms of cases, where they had things under control, where there were very little to no cases that were reported on a daily basis, and then suddenly, suddenly there was one day that out of the blue, 52 new cases were found. And keep in mind, not 520, not 5,200, but just 52 new cases that came right out of the blue, and that was enough to put the panic in Hong Kong, and they ultimately decided that it was ultimately for the best to go and temporarily close it down until the situation is back to normal. Now, they did not necessarily close everything at Hong Kong Disneyland, but just the theme park itself. The hotel is said to still be open so that people can still go and rest there and, have a moment to relax before, settling things back to normal, making sure that everyone is still obeying the rules of COVID so that, they can get back into their leisurely lives, but with following these new guidelines as well. And that's pretty much the main thing that is going on with Hong Kong this week, but that's not really the thing that I want to mainly go and talk about. What I do want to go and talk about is regarding Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida. Because as you guys have heard, Walt Disney World decided to open up their theme parks beginning last week on July 11th. They actually started to reopen some of the parks. Like last week, they opened they opened Walt Disney World, but they reopened the Magic Kingdom, and they reopened Disney's Animal Kingdom, and then a few days later, they also reopened Epcot, and they opened Disney's Hollywood Studios. So now all the theme parks are open. Now everyone can go back in there. But the big problem is that now Florida has become the new global epicenter of the pandemic. Like, now there are more cases than ever. You guys have probably heard that in the United States, they are just shattering records on a daily basis of getting more cases, of getting more deaths. And Florida is one of the hardest hit states so far. Like, now they are getting it worse. It's been getting so bad, in fact, that according to the numbers and according to the statistics, lately, now they've been getting, like, 5-digit numbers occurring on a daily basis, where, like, it has happened that there are some days where they would get more than 10,000, and it has happened that it even reached over 15,000 cases in one day. Keep in mind, not 1,500, 15,000 cases in one day, and now that has become the new standard. And yet, even with that happening right now in Florida, Disney World decided to go and open up their gates, which, as you can probably imagine, Disney has since received some very significant backlash. They have been getting a lot of hate on social media for basically doing the wrong thing with handling the coronavirus and handling that whole situation. Where, you might have heard about this one little commercial that they have done where they wanted to celebrate the fact that Walt Disney World is reopening their doors and now people can get into the theme parks once again. And you got all the cast members that are happy and they're smiling and they're telling people, welcome home! Yes, welcome home to Walt Disney World! Don't you miss your home of the Magic Kingdom and stuff? And that has received so much backlash that Disney immediately took it down afterwards on their social media, like on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook. But they were too late, because ever since then, there have been so many people who took that clip and decided to make their own parody version where pretty much they were mocking Disney or trying to reverse the message for just to tell them to stay at home, just to tell people that instead of going to the Disney parks like an idiot, that you need to go and stay at home. So as you can imagine, Disney has received some significant backlash because of the whole situation with Walt Disney World. And yet, even with all that happening, it does make me reflect upon all the other theme parks as well. And I find it very curious, because here's the thing. Yes, Disney is absolutely wrong for reopening Walt Disney World during the time when the pandemic could not be any worse in the area itself. And yet, you look at every other Disney park, and the way that they're handling the situation, it seems pretty fine. Like, so far you got places like Shanghai Disneyland, Tokyo Disneyland, and Disneyland Paris, in which they have opened up their gates. Like, now you can go into those theme parks. But then again, the situation in those areas, like in France, in Japan, and in China, in some areas of China, they are doing relatively well. They have it under control. Or there might be some numbers that are slowly growing up, but they're not rising or skyrocketing in the same way as the United States. They do mostly have it under control in those countries. And then you would have places like Disneyland, where they have actually delayed their release, and oddly enough, that's in the United States as well. Like, it was supposed to be open during this time. Like, right now, it should have been open, like, just in time for the 65th anniversary of Disneyland itself. But because California was also one of the hardest hit states in the summer recently, they had to go and delay their release. And then you got Hong Kong Disneyland as well, where they decided to go and close their doors because of a sudden spike. Again, a sudden spike of just 52 new cases. So my question is, why is it that all these other Disney parks, like, they're doing fine in terms of, like, handling the pandemic and making sure they would go and reopen the gates to the theme parks when it's completely safe, and yet they're doing everything wrong with Walt Disney World? Not to mention of the fact that even though of the strict guidelines that they have put in at Walt Disney World, there have been several reports, especially in this Forbes article, where they did actually reveal that there are some places that they're not doing it right in Walt Disney World, where social distancing is like almost non-existent. Like, people are forgetting to do so, and employees are not forcing that guideline onto the guests. That, and also, like, the cast members were supposed to be like heavily cleaning the ride vehicles like every hour or so. Like, they had to do that frequently to make sure the virus doesn't spread within the seats, like after the guests would leave. But there have been reports that they don't really do that, you know, that they're still missing spots, or they're not cleaning enough as they should. And also, like, even the hand sanitizers, the areas where you would go and get that, they quickly get empty, and it would take them a long time to go and immediately refill them. So even in terms of following the guidelines at Walt Disney World, Disney is still doing a pretty crappy job. So again, the big question is, why is it that Walt Disney World is doing it all wrong when all the other Disney parks are doing it right, including one that's in the same country? Now, one thing I want to say before I would go into my explanation, before I would continue, I just would like to go and fully emphasize that this is not to defend Disney. I am not saying this in order to make Disney look innocent, to make Disney look like the good guys in this case. I'm not trying to excuse Disney out of anything. They definitely more than deserve the amount of backlash that they have received with the way that they are handling the situation in Walt Disney World. Now, what I am trying to say, though, is that Disney should not be the only one responsible for the disastrous opening of Walt Disney World, that I'm sure it's going to leave a massive stain in the theme park's history. That this is going to be a terrible look in the history of Disney with the way that they have handled the situation in Walt Disney World. Now, you might be wondering, if that would be the case, then who else? Who else would be the one that would be responsible with how things are going in Walt Disney World? Well, I will say that if there is one force that is much more powerful in Florida than Disney, then it has to be the Florida government. And especially with its leader right now, Governor Ron DeSantis, I think there is no hiding that the Florida government cares so much more about the economy than the well-being and the health and safety of its citizens. Like, you could totally see it right now with Ron DeSantis, that he has no care for any of the Florida residents whatsoever. All he wants to do is to desperately open everything. In fact, that's pretty much the mentality of Republican politicians right now. Not all of them, of course, but the grand majority of them have this mentality, that they have grown impatient of just waiting until the coronavirus is gone. They're tired of waiting for like a vaccine to be created, or for this virus to be finished and we can get back to our normal lives. They want to force their way back to a normal life, even if the coronavirus is still up there. What they want to do is try to sweep all the science, all the facts, and all the numbers under the rug, try to hide the whole situation and pretend like nothing has happened. You know, like now it's time, you gotta go back to your regular lives and just pretend that the virus is not there. For them, that seems to be the only solution. Like, just say that it is not a solution until you somehow get it. And that's the thing that they want to try to do with this case. And it's evidently clear with Ron DeSantis, because even though the facts pretty much show that Florida is the global epicenter of the virus, not just the United States, the global epicenter, where they have reached 5-digit marks of daily cases in that one state alone, Ron DeSantis would just go up and say that yeah, everything's under control. Yeah, we're safe. We got it stabilized here in Florida, so we're just going to go and reopen whatever we want. And especially in the United States, where now they're pretty much at the phase where they are desperate to try to reopen schools. And I don't know who was it. I know it's a GOP politician, but I think it was like the governor of Georgia or something like that, where one person pretty much says that, oh, well, if teachers and school employees have a problem and they're concerned about the coronavirus, they can go and kiss my ass. That's no joke. That's actually the words of a GOP politician. And on top of that, the governor of Georgia actually put in a ban on making masks mandatory. Like, he's forcing people to make masks not mandatory. And that's also another major problem. I know I've already said this before, but this is also a massive reason as to why the United States is the hardest hit country of the virus, more so than anywhere else in the world, is because the country is not taking it seriously, and they're trying to make the coronavirus political. And that's why they're so desperate to make just make something as simple as wearing a mask, make it such a controversial subject, to make it seem like, oh, it's like a symbolism of oppression or something like that. Where the reason why people don't want to wear a mask is for idiotic reasons, or just for flat out lies and just dumb conspiracy theories that are proven to not be true. In fact, right now, Republican politicians are putting in much more effort into they're putting in more effort into trying to hide the facts instead of supporting the facts and trying to make sure that the coronavirus can be under control and that we can be in a good position to reopen the economy safely and to wait until a vaccine can actually be created and stuff like that. Even the press secretary of the White House actually stated that she doesn't want science to be out of the way of reopening the schools. And it really goes to show that many of these conservative politicians, they don't care about people. They don't care about lives. When they say that when they would say things like all lives matter or that they're pro-life, those are just flat out lies. The only thing that they care is their money and themselves. That's it. And just like I said, they don't care about the coronavirus, but only until they get it themselves, suddenly it magically becomes an issue for them. It only exists if somehow they catch it. Otherwise, they'll spread lies and conspiracy theories as a hoax. And that's that's the enemy of conservative politicians. It's the facts and the truth. And the fact is, Florida should not be opening anything right now. There should be a full-on shutdown of everything, including Walt Disney World. But because they got a boneheaded numbskull like Ron DeSantis, who just wants to open everything, I truly do believe that with Walt Disney World, part of a reason why they're not closing their doors, part of the reason why they're not going out there and why they're not actually doing the right thing is mainly because there is something that's preventing them from doing so. I mean, it does explain why none of the other Florida theme parks are closed. I mean, it does explain why stuff like SeaWorld, why Universal, and why Legoland are still opening. And with Walt Disney World, you'd expect with Disney probably doing the right thing like they're doing with their other theme parks, but no. They're still opening their doors despite the fact that Florida is not in a position to opening anything. They shouldn't be opening schools. They shouldn't be opening theme parks. They shouldn't be opening shops or anything like that. They need to be in a full-on lockdown in order to make sure they can have things at least a bit under control with the pandemic, because they are not ready. This is not the time to go and reopen the economy. Just abandon ship on that freaking idea. Seriously. And I know that there are going to be people that are going to complain to me and they're going to say, well, what about their jobs? What about people's jobs? People need the money in order to go and work. Well, that is either Disney's responsibility or that is the government's responsibility, whether it be the federal government or the state government. Like, they need, like, those are the entities that need to make sure that their employees can remain safe and can still have a salary in order to go and still have a livable wage. Even though they are not working, at least they can still be protected during these tough times. It's not like they need to it's not like they should go and risk their lives just to go to work so that they could still have a salary. That's completely immoral. So again, if you're going to ask me about the jobs and the employees getting back to work, that is the responsibility of Disney or the state government or the federal government to ensure that they could still have a livable wage while they are living at home, staying safe from the pandemic. And if you don't like this problem, if you think that is an issue, like, honestly, overall, this is a problem of capitalism. Capitalism is the issue, and it is not built for a pandemic like this. And that is the core issue of it all. And if you're too scared to go and criticize capitalism on the issue about the employees and about livable wages and stuff like that, then honestly, that really does go to show that there really is a problem with American patriotism. In fact, this is why nowadays American patriotism looks more like a mental disorder than really something that people should legitimately be proud of. It's something that people should not be scared to go and criticize. And yes, like, you could still be patriotic and still heavily criticize your country or the system that is currently running, like freaking capitalism. Like, yeah, you could still be, like, the truth is, you could still be a patriotic American that loves your country and be a socialist or even a communist at the same time. I'm just saying. Like, yeah, there is that paranoia that people might have, like, communism is evil. But let's be honest, people who have paranoia about communism don't actually know what communism is. I'm just laying that out there. But yeah, it really does go to show that, again, what I really want to go and really emphasize, and what I want to emphasize is that this is not Disney's fault alone. They should be held accountable for the poor opening of Walt Disney World, but they shouldn't be the only ones to be held accountable. This is also the responsibility of the state government and the federal government to go and do the right thing. But you know that with these conservative politicians, they are way too incompetent, and they don't care about the facts. They don't care about the truth, and they don't care about the pandemic. They only care about reopening the economy, which is really going to blow over their heads, because, like, it's really going to blow back on them, because honestly, if they're going to force their way into trying to make things back to normal, then they're just going to make the virus even worse. Like, honestly, this is why I feel like Joe Biden could probably win in November on a landslide, because there are going to be way too many Trump supporters who are not going to care about the virus, that they'll end up getting sick and they'll end up being killed over. Like, seriously, man. There are way too many people that are not taking this seriously, and it really is a massive issue. Like, that's the problem with all this. That's why the biggest ally of the coronavirus is ignorance and stubbornness. And until they wake up and realize the reality of the situation, of what you should actually do, then it's not going to get better. So overall, this is why it's really important that you need to go and you gotta stay at home, no matter what, because your health and safety is much more important than helping the economy or even having like some money, okay? Your health and safety is more important than money, so stay at home. Wear a mask. It is mandatory nowadays. When you go out, you have to wear a mask. If you're gonna be one of those idiots that have to make up an excuse, or you're one of those idiots that say, my body, my choice, or whatever, then honestly, don't even go outside. Freaking stay at home, okay? But if you're gonna go out, you have to wear a mask. But there is also practice social distancing, okay? You gotta keep practicing. You gotta make sure you stay 6 feet apart from anywhere else ahead of you, like from anywhere else around you. And also, wash your hands frequently. wash your hands. I know these are all things that I have said many times before and that many others have repeated so many times in the past, but this is something that needs to be emphasized. You need to still continue this in order to make sure that everything can be under control with the virus so that it can slowly get back to normal, or at least you can make a little bit of adjustments until the day comes that a vaccination or a cure is found for the virus so that we can put things back to normal. So that's the big thing I want to emphasize. Don't go to Walt Disney World at this time, because right now, this is Florida's responsibility. This is Disney's responsibility for doing the right thing, which they're obviously not. But really, do what you can, at least do your part in order to make sure that we can have the virus under control. Okay, so with that said and done, I would like to go and put this, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to go and ask, what do you all think about the whole situation with the pandemic? I would like to go and really, like, what do you think about with the Walt Disney World situation? Let me know your thoughts right now. Let's see. I'm still a bit miffed that they had to close the park first. Hell, if it weren't for the pandemic, I'd literally be there right now. But I entirely understand why they would, because of crap like this. Here's hoping they close the parks again and the people of America get their act together before it's too late. If you really want Disney World to fix this year, just watch the Happily Ever After. Oh, if you want your Disney World fixed this year, just watch the Happily Ever After show on YouTube. Exactly. If you really need your theme park fix, just watch stuff on YouTube. There are plenty of YouTube videos that you can go and check out to get a little bit of your fix. Yeah, it's not the same thing as actually being there, but at least it is something. So at least you can virtually be in your way to go to the Disney parks. So there is that. Let's see. Florida is so stupid. What are they thinking with opening businesses? Sure, Disney themselves are also to blame as well, but it's more of Florida's fault. Makes me not want to travel to Florida ever, and I've never been there. I just only stick to Disneyland, aka my second home, and the international theme parks. Once this pandemic dies down, screw Florida. Well, I mean, then again, it's Florida. Like, for a lot of people, that is kind of self-explanatory right there. Like, if anything else, really, it's just Florida being Florida. Do you expect them to be smart? No, you expect them to be Florida. So of course, like, considering their own stupidity would go and result them into becoming what's right now the global epicenter of the virus, it does make sense. Let's see. Some other news that are related to Disney World is that they have officially closed 3 attractions. Rivers of Light, which is the nighttime show at Animal Kingdom, Primeval World and Stitch's Great Escape. While I can't say anything about the first 2, there does seem to be a common relation to Stitch's Great Escape. Good riddance. Yeah, that is true. For those of you who don't necessarily know, yeah, there are those attractions that have been closed down, and a lot of sacrifices do have to be made as well. They even reported that there are some attractions that are in production that might no longer be. There's no official confirmation, but there are a lot of signs and a lot of evidence that do show that could be the case, like a revamp of Spaceship Earth and a Mary Poppins ride at Epcot. So just a little mention about that. Let's see. A message to the Florida governor: please just get out and go to the asylum. This move shows how some governor states are just as stupid as a brick wall. At least my governor in California did a right move in closing non-essential stores. Yeah, exactly. I mean, Florida is one of the hardest hit states, but they are doing the right thing in closing down those, they are closing down those non-essential things. There should be more states. It should be like a nationwide thing in general that all the stores or the non-essential stores should go and close down. I mean, yeah, like, it might seem a bit too extreme, but it should be the right thing to do. but it's just that it's the wrong people that are currently in charge and don't give a crap about the actual situation, that they don't care about facts, and they only care about their own feelings, and they only care about making things go their way. I mean, they're like too stubborn and too high privileged to listen to anyone else about it. Again, the coronavirus's biggest ally is ignorance and stubbornness. Let's see now. Let's see. I knew this would happen. I knew there were at least a few people in those parks who didn't get sanitization memo and just unintentionally played dirty. Honestly, I don't know if I'm angry or just plain upset that much of the USA is really handling the pandemic extremely poorly. Good thing I'm living in Malaysia, a country that has been stabilized with the virus since June 5th, with less than 50 cases daily. That might change in the future, but as of now, I'm glad where I live in. Oh, that's good for you, man. But yeah, I mean, well, ever since Trump got elected, I think the whole world has looked down upon Donald Trump and the stupidity of American conservatives everywhere, with the fact that they're looking up to this Jim Jones-style leader. Seriously. Let's see now. The only thing I want to hear something good is for the Democrats to come by and win the election this year, because many conservatives and Republicans, like the Florida governor, rather it be ignorant than being safety to the people. It was a wrong move to reopen the economy early, including theme parks, and it is still wrong today with cases keeping on increasing. If only election day gets here early, the better for many Americans. True words, man. Definitely true words there. Okay, this was Disney's own fault this time around. Opening a park in Florida while the virus is up and about lurking about is such a bad move. I hope Disney learned their lesson from that departure so all guests would be safe from the virus. I definitely do agree with you, dude. I definitely do agree there. It is Disney's fault. But again, Disney should not be the only one that should be blamed here. We need to also put the governors, the politicians, and the federal government responsible as well. They should also be at fault for making things worse in Florida than it already should be. So again, Disney should definitely take some of the blame here, but also the conservative politicians as well in this case for partly forcing Disney to keep those parks open. All right, I'm going to go and read one more comment before we go and conclude this. Let's see here. As a person who lives in Florida, I have to say this. Can Florida stop being Florida for once? And to describe Ron DeSantis is by quoting James Gordon and Henry and Thomas... by quoting James Gordon and Henry in Thomas season 2 and 4. Disgraceful. Disgusting. Despicable. Yep, truer words couldn't be said right there, man. Alright, with that said, I think that should go and conclude this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. I would just like to go and say thank you all so much for watching, and thank you all so much for listening. Hopefully, in the next episodes, we can go and have some more fun, and we will see what more craziness shall be in store for us. So with all that said and done, I would like to say thank you all so much for watching, thank you all so much for listening, and until next time, see you later, dudes!